Hello everyone, and welcome to Retail Archaeology. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at how Sears and Kmart are doing in 2022. First, we'll take a look at Sears. This location is at the Whitwood Town Center in Whittier, California. It's been several years since I've been in a full-line Sears department store. There aren't any left in the Phoenix area. They all closed a few years ago. But this is exactly how I remember Sears looking. There does seem to be a lot less stock on the floor, at least variety of stock. For example, they've got a whole wall here of Kenmore microwaves. So they're clearly doing that thing to make the shelves look full. However, the shoe department does not look full at all. There really isn't much left over here. Seeing stuff like this immediately reminds me of Sears that are in the process of liquidating. However, this store is currently not closing. At least not yet, but it's not on any sort of closure list or anything like that. This is just business as usual at Sears now. This footage is fairly recent too. I filmed this the last weekend of February in the early afternoon. I can't remember if it was on Saturday or Sunday though. I was in nearby Ontario, California for the weekend for the SoCal Retro Gaming Expo, and I did a lot that weekend, and so it's all kind of a blur. Looks like this Sears, at least, maybe this is the case at all Sears, has a completely empty jewelry case now. And it's kind of sad looking how they just put the Sears signs inside the empty jewelry cases. I'd ask if this is something they're doing at your Sears, but you probably don't have a Sears anymore. It is shocking how few Sears department stores are left. This is a complete list of all of the Sears department stores left in the United States. At its peak, they had over 3,000 locations, and now it's been reduced down to this. The way that this store looks and the very small number of stores that are left makes me think that this is all of the inventory Sears has. They probably just got it shoved in what's left of their stores. They had a lot of lease it signs out. That was kind of new to me. I didn't know they were really trying to get into the furniture rental business. I wonder who will end up acquiring those leases once Sears finally folds. The hardware and tool department is a shadow of what it used to be. When I was a kid and even as a young adult, the Sears tool department was huge and Craftsman's tools were, seen as some of the best. Sears doesn't even own Craftsman anymore. They sold it to Stanley Black & Decker back when they were selling a bunch of their assets to try and stay afloat. But that whole shelf there is pretty much the extent of the hand tools they have here now. Just a couple of ratchet sets and screwdriver sets and really not much else. This building is 3 floors, however the Sears is currently only using the first 2. This building was originally a Broadway department store. I don't know if Sears ever utilized all 3 floors of this building, but they hardly have enough stock for 2 floors now, so it makes sense that it's now closed off. This is also one of the oldest escalators that I've ever ridden, and I wonder if it's original to the building. There's a really old auto announcement that I'll play for you later while you're on the escalators that's, tells you basically not to bring strollers and stuff on the escalator, and it sounds like it was recorded in the 1960s. There was actually music playing throughout the Sears, which I'm not used to. The last Sears stores that I had been into were completely silent, so we'll have to wait until there's a clip where you can clearly hear the escalator announcement, but the music isn't going to screw me over for copyright reasons. As you can see, the second floor is just as quiet, if not quieter, than the first floor. This is where all the clothing and apparel stuff is. And they really have these racks spread out, trying to make it look like they've got more stock than they actually do. When I realized that I was like 25 or so minutes away from one of the last few Sears stores in the United States, I knew that I had to come and film it, and I kind of knew, what to expect, but still, I was just blown away with how sad things are here. Oh, and here's our old friend, the movie night rack. I've seen this in a lot of Sears stores, but now that there's no electronics department, I guess it just lives here. Okay, here's the escalator auto announcement thing I was talking about.
It's for passenger use only.
Baby strollers, push carts, and pull carts are not permitted on the escalator. Please do not sit on the step or handrail.
Please respect the children.
Please watch your step getting on and off.
You see what I mean? Doesn't that recording sound like 1960s department store to you? I wonder if that recording is from when this was originally a Broadway department store. The men's apparel is looking pretty pathetic as well. It looks like they've got a pretty good selection of safety neon green jackets and hoodies though. If they would have had one of those hoodies in my size, those neon green ones, I would have bought it, but unfortunately they didn't have one. Look at how far everything's spread out on the walls. I almost feel like that makes it look more obvious that you're low on stock. I feel like the only thing this Sears is really missing is the going out of business sales signs hanging down. That's kind of sad to say. Especially when you remember that Sears was founded all the way back in 1893. They've made it 129 years, surprisingly. I thought they were pretty much done at 125, but there's really no way that they're making it to 130. At least as a full-line department store chain. When the final Sears stores do close, that won't be the end of the Sears name. There are hundreds of Sears hometown stores and Sears appliance showroom stores, which are franchise locations that are smaller than a Sears department store, and they're not a full department store at all, but some of them actually do sort of well where the Sears name still means anything. If you've never heard of Sears hometown stores or Sears appliance showrooms, don't worry, I will be doing a video on that subject later on down the road. It looks like their appliance inventory at their department store locations, though, is starting to thin as well, and the parts section is just really sad. Sears used to be the place that you went to if you needed parts and hoses and things like that to fix your appliances, and that section looked more like a thrift store just now than having any sort of reasonable selection. It looks like they were having a clearance event on mattresses. I did read years ago that mattresses were one of the few places that Sears was actually doing well, but I haven't seen any news about that recently. I mean, mattress sales obviously didn't do well enough to keep Sears department stores around anyways. And while I was watching this footage, I just noticed that Property Brothers ad thing back there. I wonder if that's actually any sort of active promotion or if that's just something that's been there for years and they never took down once the promotion ended. It's funny because the last time I walked out of a Sears department store, I thought that was the last time I would be walking out of one, but here I am doing it again, although I'm pretty confident this will be the last time that I walk out of one. I don't know where I'll be near one ever again. I am really glad that I got to visit one though, one last time. Now let's go see how Kmart's doing. This is how Kmart is doing in 2022. I'm not even going to bother listing the remaining Kmart stores left on the screen because there's only 4 Kmart stores in the United States left. There are 2 in New Jersey, 1 in New York, and 1 in Florida. Depending on when you're watching this though, there may only be 3 left because on April 17th, one of those New Jersey stores is scheduled to close. So any Kmart that you come across in the United States is probably going to be a former Kmart that looks like this. Kmart was founded in 1899 and at its peak had over 2,400 locations in the United States. So again, this is a massive fall for a retailer that was once pretty much everywhere. This particular Kmart location is in Mesa, Arizona, and it's actually scheduled to be demolished soon and replaced with apartments, I believe. If you're interested in seeing what this store looked like when it's open, though, I have a couple of videos from about 4 years ago on this store, including a live stream. It's funny too because during that live stream was the last time that I ever bought anything from Kmart. It was some sort of cat meme mouse pad and I can't even find it anymore. When Kmart acquired Sears back in 2005, I think a lot of people assumed that was the beginning of the end for both brands. But it is still pretty weird 17 years later to see the sun setting on Sears and Kmart for good. I really do think 2022 is it for Sears and Kmart. As always, everyone, thanks for watching. Want to see your name here? Head on over to patreon.com/Retail Archaeology to find out how you can help support the channel. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my update video on Sears and Kmart in 2022. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and also make sure to follow these social media links down there because that's the best way to keep up with what's going on with the Retail Archaeology channel.